And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me is my good brother here in the temple, our resident sky pirate, good brother Sizer.
Ahoy and vast Mildra. I do not know Kung Fu, unlike Keanu Reeves, but I'm willing to learn.
Oh. And
hello, everyone.
Hello, brother Joe.
I am here as I drive home on my way from work.
Indeed, you are. You got here just in time, Joe.
Would you like to do their intro?
Yeah. And of course, welcoming our three-eyed master of dad jokes, good brother Joe.
I'm just a passing through fortune teller. Remember that.
Yeah, but you don't wear enough pink.
No, it's maroon. Also, by the great karate school, by the great martial arts school of Dan Hibiki, pink is manly. I wear pink.
No argument can be made to that, I think.
Yep. So, last time around, we covered a bit of the setting and a bit of character creation.
Yes.
This time around, we're delving into the Kung Fu system, some of the allegiances, as well as equipment.
Yes.
So,
Sweet.
I think the main takeaway we had last time was there's plenty of stuff to like, but it also falls on some bad habits that I saw in the mid 2000s.
Oh, is it going to give us a big fat list?
We're about to find out.
Strap it
Indeed.
in.
So, first off, they admit that even though there are countless, constantly changing kung fu styles in the Far West, someone's always improving old styles and developing new ones. To detail every system, style, and variant ever conceived would take all the books and scrolls in the Empire 10 times over, and still wouldn't be enough. From the root of every standard kung fu, there can sprout hundreds of deviations, all related but each unique.
Deviants, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Crane takes flight. Flying crane fist. Soaring crane double strike.
Mm-hmm.
Are the examples they
No
give.
shadow pinch. No shadow punch. No shadow arm bar.
So, there are four skills that are specifically tied to Kung Fu. External, gateways, internal, and lightness. These skills
I see where it's going.
are not determined by spending skill dice, but rather by spreading the dice from the Kung Fu attribute between them. If you put no dice in a skill, that skill does not default to the attribute. You simply don't have it.
Okay.
So you're not putting points into the skill itself. You're putting it into the Kung Fu attribute, and then it cascades down.
Okay.
So I'm going to make a quick guess here. External is your extremely physical, hard fist style martial arts. Internal is the more soft style martial arts. Lightness is movement, and gateway is mystical capabilities like throwing fireballs.
You had 3 out of 4 right. External is unarmed fighting as well as some weapons.
Okay.
Your physical power and is always direct. Gateways is the flow of spirit in the human body, and is where you get the meridians manipulation.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
So it's like the Ty Lee style of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Or Rock Lee style of fighting.
Actually, based on how they describe the gateways here, if I'm gonna make a Naruto reference, Neji is what I'm going for.
You know, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
And it looks
But
like
Meridian and all that.
looks like Rock Lee might be more internal.
Rock
Based on
Lee
what
would
we're
be
seeing here.
would very much be external.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, I heard gateways and I just thought of like opening the gates, you know?
Now internal is mastery of internal spirit, which allows you to do things like harden your body to attacks, project your spirit outward as energy, and more.
There's your
Okay.
Hadokens.
That makes sense.
Yep. Lightness is movement techniques.
Like leaping from rooftop to rooftop.
Mm-hmm. Leaping from rooftop to rooftop, being light enough to stand on a blade of grass and not bend it. All of that kind of stuff. Where you're not flying, you're just so light you are walking on air.
You can fly? No. Jump good.
Mm-hmm. So you do have to be taught the different styles.
Of
And
course.
its format is, of course, the name of the style, then the governing skill, and how much learning the style adds to that skill, either dice or pips. So by learning techniques, I'd say that's going to be the easiest way to increase the dice that you're going to be rolling for kung fu skills is by learning.
Okay, but I would like to learn the lion's roar technique, or maybe the Buddhist palm.
Ha. Then there's difficulty.
My friend.
Yeah, the two difficulties of learning the style. The first with a teacher, and the second without one. Then the permanent spirit cost to acquire the style. Any prerequisites, and then how the style works.
Okay.
The fact that you have to lose spirit in order to learn a technique. I'll come back to that, but I'm not 100% feeling that.
I guess
kinda
they're
wonder-
going for. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, I wonder how often you gain spirit, right? We'll find. I guess we'll find out.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's like dedicating your energies to the technique. I guess I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And just to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass, I'm going to refresh my memory regarding spirit, because I believe that is a attribute. No, it is not. No, it is not.
Mm.
Is it
believe it-
akin to experience?
Let me see. Where did I have? Oh, here it is. So, spirit is
Permanent and
is
temporary
based,
spirit.
Yeah, it's based on the sum of your attribute die,
Okay.
or rather, based on a certain amount, and then depending on your rank, you multiply it. That's how it ends up working.
Okay. So
But-
the higher your rank, the more spirit you get. I understand that.
Mhm.
It does say it increases regularly via story awards.
Yeah. Which, okay, if that being the case, the blow is softened a little bit. I think it's meant to represent the upper limit of how much you can know, because fortunately, actually, no. On the other hand, there's the issue of if you give that up, then you can't use spirit for, or not as much for spirit effects.
Mm-hmm.
What other things do you use spirit for again?
You can use it to do rerolls.
Oh.
That was something that I distinctly remember covering. In fact, let's see here.
I guess if you're that skilled, you don't need no rerolls? Question mark?
I guess.
Or you have to find that like fine line of like learning techniques and keeping some spirit in reserve for rerolls.
Yeah, and if that's the case, it wouldn't be too far removed from the way psychic points work in Anima.
Fair.
It notes here that we'll cover this in more detail in the Furious Action chapter, which I assume is mostly about combat.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
So
Anyway, let's continue.
yeah. So they do mention a that you do have to learn these via teachers. A teacher has to have a rating in the style's Kung Fu skill that is at least 3 dice,
Okay.
and it must be higher than yours. Now, the ability of the teacher is going to determine how much time it takes for you to learn that style. Or if you're learning on your own, if you're not even using a teacher. So the teacher would roll against the difficulty, and that determines how much time it takes for them to teach you. If they only slightly get over it, it might take a month. If they get over 17, they could teach you in a few hours.
So, something I wonder is if there's any discounts to learning techniques then.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, your martial artist still has to put in the same amount of effort.
Mm-hmm. There are also things like counter styles, which are rare, but they are basically there to cancel out other Kung Fu styles. If you're faced with a style's counter, it loses all effectiveness, all of its attacks can be blocked, all defenses overcome, and all additional effects entirely cancelled. Counters are rare.
Ah, yes, I come from the Shaolin school of 2 blue mana.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you can. Worst case scenario, you can make a counter style yourself, though that's not exactly easy. And since we are dealing with a wuxia game, of course there are manuals. We've seen this particular motif plenty of times. The lost techniques, even by an established school, that are in some manual hidden somewhere in the world.
You have the chi of a prodigy. I have this lovely manual here, lost to the ages, that will teach you the Buddhist palm technique.
So, first off, now when it comes to learning from a manual, it takes a number of days equal to 5 times the style's spirit cost. Once you've studied it, you can try and use it. Each round that you use it, you must pay its spirit cost from temporary spirit, not permanent. This is in addition to any spirit expenditure that is part of the normal use of it. It does not bestow its skill benefits to you yet. You have to try and use it with the skill level you have. Once you've managed to use it successfully, then roll the learning roll. If you fail, you have not learned the style, but can try again by restarting the process. Each additional attempt gives you a +5 modifier on the learning roll. Once you successfully use the style and made the learning roll, you can pay double the listed spirit cost. Anytime you're trying to learn without an instructor, it costs twice as much spirit. Receive the spirit benefit. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying there is technically a discount. It just means that you need a teacher.
Mm-hmm. And
now here we have, go ahead.
There are quite a few styles that are there, and there's quite a few representatives of all 4 Kung Fu skills.
Okay, about 20 apiece. Yeah.
But each one is associated with one of the 4 skills. Some have an asterisk and are referred to as corrupt styles. I'm sure we'll get into that in a minute.
Including the Kill Bill skill. One I see under gateways there.
Yep.
So all this learning stuff, sounds like something that I, as a GM, might just kind of ignore or fast track if we were going to be doing this. If it's going to slow down gameplay or like prevent a character from going on an adventure, I think at some point you just say, you know, you go ahead and you spend the spirit, and now you know the thing.
It's a very simulation-y mindset.
Yeah.
Right up there with learning learning techniques, not techniques, but learning spells through finding scrolls and how much time it takes you to read the scroll and whatnot.
Yep.
For some games that can certainly have a purpose. Like we saw that kind of thing when it came to crafting certain items and covering Oka Hoshin. But with Oka Hoshin, the amount of time you have in terms of your lifespan is of much bigger importance, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your immortals. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have immortals here.
No, because this is Wuxia, whereas Oka Hoshin is more Tianxia.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Now, they do talk about how once you lose that permanent spirit, it's gone. The only way to get it back is rising in rank. You begin each adventure with spirit equal to your permanent spirit. Excess temporary spirit can be spent as experience. It is critical that you do not spend all of your permanent spirit, because if you have none remaining, you lose your ability to use Kung Fu. Which, that being the case, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole you are permanently losing the cap of spirit in order to learn, and if you learn too much of it, you can't use it at all. I get what it's trying to do, I just think that there's a cleaner way to do it.
Like, give it a... As much as I hate balancing a lot of different currencies, right? Just make it a different currency of sorts, or just a different thing to go off, not spirit. Or at least just give it a hard limit without needing to spend the thing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good as a player to like be losing to lose one of your major attributes to gain something else, you know? Feels bad, don't recommend.
Mm-hmm. I can see some games doing it if it thematically fits. I'm not sure there's a strong enough thematic fit. I feel like an easy way to do it is if say you add up the spirit of all of the Kung Fu styles you have, and if that is higher than your spirit, then that's your limit.
Yeah. Or like, just, I don't know. Like, there are so
Honestly,
many different...
It seems like you could almost homebrew that pretty quickly if you wanted to, depending on how high spirit gets. And it seems like I noticed how it's calculated, and it's like the lowest. You add like the lowest of two different traits together, like 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. Like the example they gave earlier in the book has a permanent spirit of 22.
I'll be right back.
No worries.
And do we know how much Kung Fu you start with?
I don't think you start with it. Unless you're getting it from like background or occupation, I don't think you start with any. And from what I'm looking back at the backgrounds and occupations, no, you don't start with any Kung Fu. You'd have to go and get it.
I see.
That part I don't have a problem with. But the other thing that makes that whole spirit balancing thing an issue is a lot of the kung fu styles have something about expending spirit.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Uh,
Now, I think I would prefer. I do think I'd prefer to start with like a style, because the promise of the game is you're going to be playing like a cool kung fu cowboy, right?
mhm.
So giving you that a little bit of something to play with right off the bat seems like a good idea. Um,
You can, like, the closest to that is the fact that you can spend your skill dice that you start out with on the kung fu attribute, which can then cascade into these skills.
yeah, okay.
But
But you still don't know the specific techniques it seems, or the styles it seems like.
mhm. And it does look like that even though they put them in separate categories in that sidebar, we do have the return of the big dumb list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it would have been pretty easy
Damn
to
it.
break them down by between the 4 skills here too.
hmm But it does look like each one
mean-
costs 1 to 3 spirits so far.
Mm.
And of course,
That's not bad.
each time you get one, if it doesn't have the D on there, you're adding pips to that particular skill. Like for example, burning crop style adds it says gateways +2, so it's just a 2 pip bonus to the gateways skill.
Mhm.
And of course,
Okay.
the difficulty is moderate to difficult. We've talked about the difficulty tiers last week. Remember, the second one is how much harder it is if you're learning without a teacher.
Indeed.
But given the fact that you have to pay twice as much spirit if you're learning without a teacher, I think that's all the more reason to do that capacity approach rather than have you spend permanent spirit.
Mhm.
And in the case of burning crop style, let's see. You make an attack, the target takes no physical damage, but you roll your gateways versus their stamina. If you succeed, then you're able to penalize their rolls for a good amount of time. Basically, you're doing an internal attack that causes them to develop a rapidly rising fever. But I think there was... On the other hand, there's things like Bear Stance, which grants +2 to internal, has a moderate to difficulty, takes 1 spirit. You don't roll to use the style. When spending temporary spirit for an additional wild die on toughness rolls or its skills, you get 2 wild dice rather than 1.
Yeah, and we know the sort of dual, the double-edged nature of the wild dice.
Mm-hmm. So that could be an advantage for you, but it also could screw you over.
Yep.
Because all it takes is 1 roll of 1 on the wild die, and now you're in for a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fun for the GM, maybe not fun for you.
Well, I'm dying. I'm gonna.
It wouldn't surprise
dying
me if
over
there's
here.
some kind of skill to like reroll ones once or something.
Mm-hmm. Which don't think I saw much of that. Of course, there's still things like Yas, but
Mhm.
let's see. We do have drunken martial arts through Drunken Bastard. Adds 1 die to lightness. Costs 2 spirit. one of the seemingly endless array of drunken styles. You add your lightness skill as a bonus to your defensive roll. If the attack fails as a result, the attacker is at a penalty to their next attack roll against you equal to your result. On the other hand, there's drunken.
I'm always a fan of drunken styles.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like there's multiple ways to do drunken style because right after that is drunken fist, which is an external technique. Takes 2 spirit. You can add your external skill as a bonus to your attack roll, so the Kung Fu attribute. If you succeed, you can use the result points as either a bonus to your damage, a bonus to your next attack roll, or a bonus on your next defense roll. It's definitely a nice touch. We do have the return of the dog beating stick, which is I know some people will raise an eyebrow at the name, but that is the signature weapon of characters who are part of the beggar sect.
I believe the story goes they used the stick in order to literally beat off wild dogs in order to keep themselves safe.
Yes. It's usually a shortened staff or a cane, wielded one-handed sometimes as if it was a sword. In this case, it adds 1 die to gateways, costs 3 spirit. You do have to have an allegiance to the Jade family in order to use it. That's an example of specific prerequisites. Or, for example, the Dance of Steel, which requires you to have a mariachi allegiance, and you need a sword and cloak in order to use it. But since it was brought up earlier, we may as well go into the 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
5-finger death punch.
It gives +1 die to gateways. Learning it with the teacher is very difficult. Which I believe would be, let me check here. Very difficult, so a range of 21 to 25 on a set of D6s. Or if you're learning it without a teacher, it would be heroic, so 26 to 30.
It's probably.
So, using this style instantaneously spends every point of temporary spirit the attacker has, and corrupts half that number of points of their permanent spirit. The attack
really hate somebody.
It uses the gateway skill versus the target's defense roll. If the attack is successful, the attacker rolls a damage roll of their Kung Fu attribute plus gateways, with the result points of the attack as a bonus. The target does not roll toughness, but instead willpower. Damage is not delivered. The result of a successful attack is death. The damage rolls to determine the length of time before the target's heart explodes. So, if the damage was 16 or higher, instantaneous. Anything lower from that, it could take a round to a few die rolls of rounds, depending on how their willpower roll goes. It could add even more time, ranging from a few hours to a few years.
Hell of a way to live, though.
If the target is extremely lucky, perhaps they might be able to find a way to stave off the inevitable, but there are no tales of anyone successfully reversing this technique. As small consolation, the victim of the technique is immune to any further uses of the technique.
What was that, Joe? You kind of roboted.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, they might.
Yeah, I'm afraid I couldn't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
How about now?
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alternatively, they could live just long enough to hear the words, "You are already dead."
Though I do want to scroll back a bit because I want to see if they explained corrupting techniques or corrupt styles. Because I don't think they did.
Oh, like what that corruption actually does?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not seeing it. Also, there was a note that we missed. At character creation, you're given a number of kung fu styles you can acquire based on your starting rank.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and that's something that we did cover last week. That your rank determines how many kung fu styles you get for free.
Okay. Well, that sort of clears up one of my complaints then.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to point out I saw this one called 8 Trigrams Lariat, which looks like a little bit of a mashup with a setting mashup here, where your weapon is a lasso.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Oh, I was thinking like lariat as in the wrestling move, at which point it's like, oh look, 8 trigrams luchador style.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, this one actually requires rope, thread, wire, or similar.
Yep.
Considered to be a grapple attack performed at range. Go ahead.
Yep. So when it comes to corruption, it was tackled in it is on page 130 when it comes saying if you have corrupt spirit achieved through the use of corrupt kung fu and other unrighteous actions, there are limitations on how much spirit you can use. Permanent spirit that is corrupt cannot be spent to purchase kung fu styles unless that kung fu is also corrupt. And the corresponding temporary spirit, also corrupt, cannot be spent to tag negative aspects or to reduce incoming damage. It cannot be used to modify die rolls. Corrupt spirit can be cleansed via certain methods. And yeah, that I was skipping ahead a bit when it comes to that. But basically, if you have corrupt spirit, it's kind of like having the court cards in parcelings.
Oh yeah,
where you can't do anything for it, but what it does is just block off what you can use that resource for, unless you want to go further into that path.
And it didn't look like there were that many corrupt techniques when I was looking at the table earlier. Well, I could have been wrong about that.
Let's see, one. Actually,
I only saw 2.
Yeah, and it does seem that there should be. I think there's more, but I think but yeah, it doesn't seem like there's many corrupt techniques, which is perfectly fine with me. Though, if I were to draw a parallel as to what corrupt techniques would be like, think of bloodbending in Avatar.
Sure.
Where a lot of the people who end up using it tend to be a few eggs short of a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
The puppet master is for example.
Yeah.
Big example.
Yeah.
But like, and I'm skimming through a good chunk of the other styles, and there's definitely a lot of fun styles here. It's the whole permanent spirit thing that bugs me. I feel like I don't. As a general rule, I don't like doubling down on cost.
Yeah, that's fair. You don't want to have to pay twice for something.
Like, you may recall, I said something to that effect when we covered Phantasy Star. Like the fact that you had to essentially spend MP and you have a limited number of uses for some of the high tier spells.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now. That was odd.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Or in certain games you have a cooldown effect and you have a resource spend.
Oh yeah, I don't like that at all.
And I can tolerate that to a point in, say, MMOs, but the key word here is to a point.
Your tabletop should not be your MMO.
And you know, if with the way Spirit works here, I feel like it would encourage people to be far too defensive with it. And I honestly think a game like this wants you to be using your kung fu and using Spirit to do high risk, high reward stuff. This does not strike me as a game that wants to be defensive. So I'd say when it comes to the whole Spirit use, the approach I'd probably take is, instead of the only thing that permanently reduces Spirit is corrupt kung fu.
Yeah.
For everything else, it's a case of it's less of spending permanent Spirit and more about capacity. Having it that the total amount of spirit counters for the kung fu styles that you have, putting aside the freebies you get, cannot be higher than your permanent Spirit. Essentially, having Spirit as a budget, and if you want to learn techniques, I'd probably have it that you could go over it, but you are running the risk of other effects. Sort of like what happens if you have too many ciphers in the cipher system. The more that you have, the more weird stuff can happen to you. But moving past Kung Fu, then we have the Pilgrims on the Dusk Road, which is where we talk about allegiance. When you build your character, you can choose an allegiance. This is usually to one of the clans. Not all PCs are going to be members of a clan. Some might be tied to a nation, whether one of the former independent kingdoms of the periphery, the empire itself, or in some cases just a system of belief. Some don't have any allegiance and are drifters. So that's where you can get your man with no name.
Love it.
So allegiances are treated similarly to aspects. They can be tagged and compelled the way you can with an aspect. We do have a thing where, with the narrator's permission, the hero gains a +10 bonus on Charm, Command, or Persuasion when dealing with someone of the same allegiance, as long as you've had some interaction with the other party to discover the connections and bring the bonus into play. On the other hand, if you choose to be a drifter, i.e. you're not a member of any clan, you have a -10 penalty to those same rolls when dealing with members of clans. Should make sense. Okay. Drifters are basically the man with no name in this case. And the clans that are in this chapter aren't all of them, but they're the ones that have the biggest footprint in the far west. For example, we have the Foxglove Society, a secret society of assassins hidden within the ranks of Lotus Girls and Willing Lads.
Yep.
Always respect the Lotus Girl, the saying goes, for you never know when she might actually be a Foxglove.
They were probably made in order to protect them.
They are the best assassins money can buy, but they're not easy to find or contact. They only reveal themselves under two conditions. One, they already know they're likely to take the job, and two, they can comfortably remove the client if he proves to be a problem. In other words, if you try and cheat the Foxgloves, well, congratulations, you just made yourself priority target. But the roots is not in people in the trade, but rather political dissidents 200 years ago. Mostly from the Empress at the time, who was plotting to overthrow her husband. The secret police found about it, but the man who found out loves the Empress and couldn't bring himself to kill her. So instead, he had her flee the capital. And the Empress and her handmaidens disguised themselves as courtesans and headed west.
That's traditional.
Of course, the funny thing is, 2 years later, the Emperor died. Natural causes, according to official records.
Surely that's the case.
Surely. I think that really is the case, but don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. They don't consider themselves revolutionaries or anything like that. Assassination is business.
Just like the other side of the coin.
The first and second oldest professions with So as far as they also go into their fighting style, which is any kind of weapon that could be disguised within the trade. Scarves, hat pins, fans, needles, etc. Their particular kung fu is hidden current, which is all about improvised weapons.
Reminded of Moose from Ranma Half.
Yeah.
Yeah, except I think the Foxgloves can actually see without those big ass glasses.
Though I wouldn't put it past them to use the Fist of the White Swan.
But if you choose Foxglove, you have a +10 when using Charm, which would make sense. Then there's the Iron Dragons, who are a clan built out of the laborers and railway workers. Some of them own independent railway companies, and are a pain in the ass for the Steam Barons.
I like that.
But the philosophy is that the maintenance of the railways is for the good of all. Anyone who poses a threat to that good, whether it be bandits raiding trains to steam barons making war against their competitors, draws the wrath of the Iron Dragons. They are neutral in clan disputes, at least insofar as the conflict does not negatively impact the rails or those who ride them. This has led them to be in the position of judges in quarrels between clans.
Fair.
For this reason, many treaty agreements between warring clans are worked out aboard moving trains. Their kung fu style is the bell resounding, based upon using metal batons, each 2 to 3 feet in length. So if they're using metal batons like that, why am I don't know why, but I'm thinking of Eskrima sticks.
Yeah, a little bit of Nightwing in there.
These ones are just full on metal instead of the wood ones that are often seen. Specifically,
They probably
the double
also
stick
do
form.
really well with. They probably also do well with Tonfa as well.
But any rail company that operates in the Far West has members of the Iron Dragons. Now, some of the chartered house railways say that membership in the clan is a firing offense, but practically speaking, there's no way to fire that many people. The head of the clan is 8 senior members, collectively called the Brass. They usually meet once a year to decide matters of clan business, often on a train, usually operated by one of the smaller railway companies. And if you have allegiance to the Iron Dragon, you get +10 to driving.
All right, well, these are my boys. We'll see if there's any better clans, but I like these ones.
But then we have the Jade family, which is not a family, but a collection of nomadic con artists, snake oil salesmen, beggars, fortune tellers, entertainers, and thieves.
Oh, look, it's my people.
Who take the family name Jade to indicate their allegiance to what they call the life. They are probably, because of the wide network that they have, they are probably the premier info gathering organization in the Far West. They have ears across the land, particularly with the wandering underclass. So the Jade family is basically a reincarnation of the beggar sect.
Yeah.
There's the saying,
like I said, these are my people.
Yep, not every beggar is Jade, but the Jade speak to every beggar. And yeah, they basically are the beggar sects. They're a consolidation of the various beggar sects on many of the back east cities. They formed alliances out in the Far West for mutual survival because, it's harsher out in the frontier. And eventually these alliances attracted people from other walks of life beyond simple beggars. And
this reminds me of a song. I've got friends in low places.
Oh, yeah.
But they see themselves as the defenders of the outcast and downtrodden. They believe that they represent the free man. They value information and secrets. Their philosophy can be best summed up as forewarned is forearmed, that the possession of information is an advantage. So they collect information on everything they can and trade that information freely between each other, who they call cousins. Everyone else, they charge. If you're looking for info, you can be guaranteed the Jade family has access to it. The only question is how much it'll cost you.
I like these ones too, but not still I like my Royal Boys.
Yep. Their signature thing is, of course, the dog beating stick.
Oh, okay. I like them a little less now.
Well, we already talked about why it's called.
Yeah,
that.
I get it. It's not it's an irrational response, but it's still the response I have. So,
admittedly, it does say that they have a wide array of styles because it's
Yeah.
all walks of life.
Yep. But then we have the fact that rank is signified by pouches, pockets, or bags visibly worn by a cousin. symbolic of their time spent in the life. Novices have a single visible pocket, pouch, or bag. Initiates have 2. Masters have 5 or more. The cousins are bound by a complex set of rules called the Custom. Rules regarding hospitality, sharing of info, the defense of cousins against outsiders, loyal obedience to the family, etc. It has been created over a long period of time, and the results can often be contradictory. But someone who can cite customs to their own benefit is seen as Trig, sharp, clever, and one to be admired. The elder of the Jade family is known as Slim Jade. You're thinking of Snap into a Slim Jade, aren't you?
No.
Well, now we are.
But will the real Slim Jade please stand up?
Which is difficult because no one can say that they've actually met him.
That's why I was laughing.
But if you choose the Jade family, you get +5 to Streetwise. And you can use the whistling that they use to impart info. This particular whistling code has never been deciphered by any other clan, or the Empire, and no member of the Jade family has ever broken their vow to keep it secret.
Don't you be the first.
I'm pretty sure if someone did, then they'd make themselves, once again, a prime target for everybody else.
Seems like it.
But then we have... Oh, good.
The Jade family calls anyone who squeals a dog.
Oof.
Hence the name of the stick.
Then the Mariachi, also known as the Brotherhood of Steel and Song.
Not again! Not again! Sorry. Flashbacks.
Yeah. They're probably the most loved clan by the common folk, and hated by the Steam Barons, as well as certain agents of the Empire. They've long been masters of concealment, hiding their skills behind the smiling face of a wandering musician or cloaked in the shadows.
Feels a bit Zorro-like here. They've got the whole Robin Hood thing going on.
Take a look at their fighting style.
Their fighting style favor weapons that can be concealed about their persons or hidden in instruments or their cases, from cleverly designed pistols, rifles, and swords to whips designed as belts or throwing knives amidst their finery. While they know various kung fu styles, their signature is Dance of Steel, and it comes from a different culture entirely. The Dance of Steel is a bold fighting art combining lightning-fast sword attacks with a whirling, movement-obscuring cloak. It is a beautiful but lethal style.
Then you finish it with a Z.
But they tend to operate as lone wanderers. If more than one is found together, they were probably brought together by a difficult situation. Hence the saying, 1 mariachi sings a heroic ballad, 3 mariachis sing a war song. But members of the clan tend to not gather often and tend to be very individual, which does make full-on gatherings rare and probably difficult to do, because in order to do it, you need to have a bunch of messengers moving about. As far as their symbol, it is the fox. So, yes, these guys are basically Zorro. If you choose it, you get +10 to the artist skill. But then the preachers. I'll give you one guess as to what they do.
Just like the mariachis, they sing, right?
So officially the priests have loyalty to the August throne. Practically speaking, where you're not getting a whole lot of support from the Empire, things get out in the West, things get complicated.
Okay.
It was meant to be a branch of the ecclesiarchy, but as they go further west and don't get as much logistical support, they started going a bit more independent. And even religious folk who aren't preachers have some relationship with the clan. I know somebody who knows somebody. Thus the saying, faith manages. But the philosophy of a preacher is based on whatever sect they're associated with. When fighting, they tend to go unarmed or maybe use a staff. Their secret style is the giving and receiving hand, where a practitioner focuses their spirit into their hands, letting them deliver stronger blows and even block swords.
Sword catch.
Mm-hmm. Supposedly, masters of the style can block bullets with their bare hands. What are you saying? I can dodge bullets?
Well, no, I can catch them, though.
But then we have the Rangers, the Knights of the Far West. I do want to read off the Rangers' code. No falsehood should pass my lips, for my heart is true. No injustice shall pass my sight, for my aim is true. The wicked shall meet my wrath, for I ride, and justice rides with me. The Rangers are old, about as old as the Preachers. The original Rangers have an Imperial Charter to serve as guardians of the frontier. But as time passed, they came to be recognized as an authority unto themselves. Which didn't sit well with some emperors, but the reality of the situation was the Rangers operated far beyond the effective reach of the throne, and the Emperor, being pissy about the matter, couldn't really do anything about it. There were too many Rangers that were too strong and too well versed in the terrain to be counted by anybody back east. But their numbers did wane as fewer and fewer stepped up to join their ranks. And their devotion to justice put them in opposition with others with imperial sanction, chartered houses, or even imperial officials themselves. And of course, to make things even worse, when the secession wars started, they took sides with the secessionists, and the throne declared all Rangers outlaws.
You know, better outlaws than in-laws, I guess.
Yep.
Ooh.
And of course, then the fall of Orenos led to the Battle of Ash, also known as the Battle of Ash Ford, led the remaining bulk of the Rangers to be wiped out. There are still some that survived, but they operate in secret. So you essentially have, as mentioned, Knights of the West who follow their code and still have the mythical status among people.
Folk heroes, yeah.
pretty much, with their own martial art known as 8 Compass Way, or just Ranger gun style, which is built around firearms. Pistols and rifles are used as offensive, defensive, ranged, and hand-to-hand weapons, in a style designed for one ranger to take on as many opponents coming from any direction, hence the 8 Compass. Oh, fuck, it's Equilibrium Gun Kata.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep.
But if you pick them, you get plus 10 to the riding skill. But I do like this. Upon completion of ranger training, novices would undergo a ceremony. Their chosen weapon would have its grips decorated with carved jade, spelling out a quote from ancient scripture, of personal meaning to the new ranger in the old speech. The intricately carved grips would be heated by being thrust into hot coals, and the new ranger would take up their weapon, searing the carved message into the palms of their hands. These scars, as much as the silver star, stand as the symbol of the rangers.
I'm reminded of Wheel of Time.
I'd say Wheel of Time and a bit of Roland from the Dark Tower.
You're not wrong.
But then we have the Twin Eagle Security Agency, a private security and detective force that can be hired by anyone with enough to offer them. It's the Pinkertons.
Oh.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, and I disapprove. But let's read more.
Oh yeah. They are an officially chartered business enterprise. Their operatives can be found within the borders of the Empire, even all the way out in the far west. They can be either hired as private security, providing protection to assigned clients, or as private detectives or police, acting as the agents of their client in matters of criminal law, much like bounty hunters. In some places, they hold a constabulary contract, where agents act as the official law enforcement body of the settlement, rather than acting as freelancers.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yep. What marks them from run-of-the-mill hunters is the clan itself. Most bounty hunters are solitary. Twin Eagle agents have their abilities as well, but also the whole network of the larger clan to assist them. They tend to dress more urbane, educated, and civilized, as well as having steam-driven, fury-engined clockwork and more within their inventory.
They use tech.
If they're... The fact that they don't have a uniform, that uniform training in the fighting arts has gotten them derision from the other clans. Saying that because they don't have a unique kung fu style, they don't qualify as a true clan. A lot of them view them as dandies from back east. And they tend to and there's the argument that can be made that their cog science is as esoteric as any martial art. They do have one major positive. No contract has ever been broken.
Extremely honorable.
If a Twin Eagle gives you her word, you can bank on it. So maybe I was a bit too harsh by comparing them to the Pinkertons.
Yeah, the Pinkertons, I think it can be said, had certain political affiliations there. These ones are just like the highest bidder, but once you accept a contract, it's done.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like these guys.
Though it says
Not my people, but I like these guys.
They're not above subterfuge. There are times where that might be called for because of the execution of a contract. But the terms are never violated.
It's always the word of the contract. So be very specific.
Yeah. And I guess one could say that that they're in the same position that the Rangers were in, but they are not. They don't have the folk hero reputation. Probably because they tend to be associated with Eastern thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when it comes to the next one, the Wandering Stars, they're referred to as itinerant philosophers, drunken vagabonds, ruthless warrior poets, and shamanic mystics. So they're effectively nomads who could be in um, all manner of forms.
Mm-hmm. It kind of sounds like they're like almost like transcendental philosophers, or they're thinkers, right? They're artisan thinkers. Um, Based on what we're seeing here, they're all about using their big brains.
Yep. So, with the other thing is becoming messengers to be practical. There was considering of certain garments of clothing to show allegiance, but the ease of counterfeiting convinced otherwise. But the butterfly tattoos on their hands and forearms is a tell of them.
Mm.
And there are as many beliefs among the Wandering Stars as there are Wandering Stars, supposedly. It's not entirely the case, but it is part of their character. They tend to try and be in harmony with the world around them, drifting through life, harming none if they can help it. Though, because of the fact that they can find beauty in things like a brightly colored rock or an intricate thought, or in places where people only perceive ugliness, that's led to some suggesting the Wandering Stars are a bit cracked from too much sun. But they have a degree of neutrality. They are fond of various drunking styles, as they enjoy seeing insight in the bottle. So they're almost a clan that is not a clan.
Yeah.
If you pick them, you get +5 to survival and navigation.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes me think of like the transcendentalism here, because it seems like you could certainly picture like Thoreau or Emerson amongst their ranks with fair ease.
But the last thing we'll get into is swords, six guns, and cog science. So, of course, the main currency is the dollar, which is usually made of silver.
Mm.
Some have simple designs, some have more elaborate designs. 4 bits to the dollar is the standard, but we once again have a silver standard. The Steam Barons have their own general script, basically currency that can only be used in their house.
Yeah, company script. Yep.
Disgusting.
The largest coins after dollars are talons, which are always made of gold. The exchange rate is 10 silver dollars to 1 talon, though some places will push that ratio in either direction. A rare handful are in circulation that still hold the cog and blade of Oranost. And there's differing opinions about whether those coins are lucky or cursed. Remember, Oranost was the last holdout.
Are the Alamo of the West, sort of. I suppose. Yeah.
Yep. But 4 bits equals 1 silver dollar. 10 silver dollars equals 1 gold talon. You start out with 4D times $10 of pocket money, in addition to whatever equipment it makes sense for your background. But then we start with weapons. Ammunition is bought in boxes of 24 rounds. Muzzleloader and musket rounds are sold in sets of 12 and are usually $2, whereas cog gun magazines hold 400 rounds and cost $50. If a weapon is considered masterwork, it bestows a bonus between 1 to 3 dice when they're being used. Each die of bonus triples the base cost.
Oh my. So 3 to the 3rd. Oh my gosh.
And of course, range and price. And that's a lot of the weapons we see here are ones you'd expect. You know, your pocket pistol, your mare's leg. I like the mare's leg. Your shotguns, your scatter guns. I want to see what the cog gun is like, since that's going to be unique to this particular setting.
Muzzleloader? Interesting.
I assume those are more archaic in this setting.
Yeah. So the cog gun is basically a Gatling.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Is a mechanized firearm that uses a hand crank to revolve a series of barrels.
They have the 9-ring saber.
Yep. Also, hook swords. Always nice.
Gotta love the hook swords.
But we also have short blades, which includes the wind and fire wheels. Interesting. A lot of times when the wind and fire wheels show up, they show up as thrown weapons, not as short weapons.
That's because people associate them with the throwing chakra from Xena. War fans.
Yep. You good old war fan. We also have halberds. Let's see.
It's the monk spade.
Yep. We also have staves, which has the 2-section staff and a 3-section staff.
Cool.
And axes, bludgeons, which includes the melon hammer. Always nice to see that. With rope and chain, we have the meteor hammer and the flying guillotine.
Ooh.
Which, of course, you can drop the basket over someone's head and then yank, and now they have no head.
Ta-da!
On the other hand, it's hard to use. But then we do have a few entries for ranged weapons, whether it be bows, whether it be throwing knives, whether it be throwing axes. And of course,
Blowgun.
Yep. And of course, explosives. Which could be something like a black powder explosive or a vial of nitro.
What is an Excelsior grenade?
Let's see. Invented by the Royal Armor for the Imperial Army, the Excelsior grenade consists of 2 hollow metal spheres, one inside the other. The inner sphere is packed with explosives. In between the 2 spheres are 14 protrusions, each tipped with percussion cap. It's a grenade.
Yeah.
It is a
What was
Excelsior?
It was invented by a artisan named Stan Lee, L.I. Enough said.
Ha.
Oh, I should tell you my Stan Lee story someday.
All right, well, I'll hold you to that.
But see, we do have, of course, armor, which could be things like hide to lamellar armor, and a good old shield. And then a long list of goods and services. Including some thematic entries, like a fistful of like a transportation company known as a Fistful of Bastards. And then cog science. This was what I knew I was going to focus on here. So with cog science, you use the cog science skill to invent, build, repair, and operate cog science devices. Each one is defined by a few parameters. Those being the name of it, obviously, the scale. The scale is by default 1. Essentially, this is how big the device is. The toughness, what you roll to resist damage done to the device, and capabilities, the ways in which it's used. Each capability will add its value to the overall value of the device. It could be a fixed die code, it could be a skill bonus, an attribute bonus, a other capability, if it's a vehicle, a move rating, any bonuses and limitations to it, and what skill you have to roll to use the equipment. So you don't roll, it looks like you don't roll cog science when it comes to using it, just when making it.
Got it.
So with scale 1 is character. Scale 2 would be small vehicles or large animals. Scale 3 would be medium vehicles, like a wagon. Scale 4 would be large vehicles, like an airship or a riverboat. Scale 5 would be a warship. Scale 6, it just says etc. I don't think you're gonna be making scale 6 for a while.
Etc. Etc. Etc.
But then we have a few examples of them, including prosthetic limbs, as well as a chart for values when it comes to what you can get out of it. Because the value is basically going to be the price. So the more stuff you put on it, the more expensive it's going to be.
I'm still amused at the idea of like your prosthetic limb having a wireless telegraph on it.
But you could use it to make a longsword, or make a repeating rifle, where they say only a madman like One-Eye Brost would think of But think of adding a coiled clockwork to the trigger mechanism of a carbine. So it pretty much is a repeating rifle. One
And
that
then
can
we
empty
have-
a whole box in a single trigger.
And then we have the galvanic projection rifle, aka the Death Ray.
Mhm. It uses a series of chemical batteries to generate and throw a crackling arc of electrical energy at targets. It's the lightning gun from Quake.
It has 6 shots, but it takes a few hours to reload.
Mhm. Of course, there is one example for armor, the Magno Shield, which generates a magnetic field around the operator, catching metal weapons before they impact.
Ah, the actual bullet sponge.
Yep. A steam cycle,
Vroom vroom.
airships, and then combined devices, such as the War Drudge, a automaton war machine, the product of the best minds and the limitless wealth of the August Throne. Each device would need, since it's a combined device, each device would need to be handled separately. There's no additional cost for combining them. The values of multiple devices will be hard enough without adding more to it. And the War Drudge's combined value is 236.
Yeah, look further down. I think we see there's a picture of one down there.
Mhm. But designing equipment is a skill task using cog science. The base design time is set by the narrator using the value of the device. As a general guideline, design takes 1 day per point of value, though this base time can be modified by rushing or preparing. It should be broken down into components generally. Each capability, including the toughness and scale of the device, can be considered a component, with limitations subtracted from the value of whichever component the player wishes. For each component, you have to roll the cog science skill with a difficulty equal to the value of that component. Once successfully designed, you now have plans ready to be built. The builder can be another character. If the designer takes part in the building process, difficulty goes down by 5. The narrator should estimate the expenses to build the device using the equipment and weapons presented earlier in this chapter as a guideline. Some devices might also require exotic materials which cannot be purchased.
Quest time.
Mm-hmm. Building something according to the plans or recommendations of the designer requires time, money, and the cog science skill.
Mhm.
Each component has to be made separately, starting with the body, then in any order. The difficulty is equal to the value of the component. The base construction is 7 days for each component, modified by the result of the construction roll. If the roll is a failure, 7 days pass, but the construction is not completed. And we have a nice little bottom half walker at the end of that.
Isn't that just the villain from Wild Wild West?
Yes, I'm pretty sure Wild Wild West was cited as a reference.
It was. I remember that specifically. They wanted to put in some Weird West stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me wonder if somebody hasn't run this and had a 80-foot tarantula as part of the campaign.
Well, you know, that etc. covers a large number of things.
Mm-hmm. But that more or less covers everything I plan on covering tonight. So with Kung Fu, we more or less went into what our major issue with that is. Equipment is, well, equipment.
True.
What do you guys think of the allegiances we saw here?
Like, it looks like there are methods and means to create your own organizations as you see fit.
Mm-hmm.
which I like, especially since it's like the rule seems to be +10 to a single stat, or +5 to a stat, +5 to another, or some other benefit. Um, with that understanding, I really do like how it kind of gives life to the setting,
Mhm.
as well as like kind of lays the groundwork to do your own stuff if you wanted to.
Mhm.
I agree. I think it gives you helps you build out the intended experience of the game, which is to and gives you some ideas for character for like your character's background. If I wanted to play like this wandering philosopher, I could be a wandering star. If I wanted to play a character who's kind of disliked by the other clans, I could play a twin eagle. Yeah, that was the twin eagles, right? The ones that we thought were the Pinkertons at first.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. No, it's a good framework, and even if you were never to um, use any non canon or non provided clans, you'd still have a good amount to choose from,
Mhm.
and I can be I can be happy with that. Yeah,
Right.
no, that was the thing that I think I had the least issues with that we went over today was the clans.
Mhm. And when it comes to when it comes to the equipment, I think the big thing to take away is the cog science. Like the rest of the equipment is about what you would expect.
Mhm.
Some fun stuff there, but the crazy stuff doesn't really happen until that. I kind of wish there were a few more examples
Oh, definitely. That was the first issue that I had with it.
because cog science is very clearly here to make what what would be magic items in a fantasy game
Mhm.
in terms of their effects. Uh, I don't have a problem with
And
with the way that it's done.
it's the weird steampunk mad science that I absolutely adore, mixed with Wild West and martial arts, Asian inspired mysticism. And
Mhm.
it's a beautiful combination.
Hmm.
Now, my issue with it is like aside from the fact that we don't get very much, does it seem to either of you like we don't have a whole lot of guidance about how to make our custom cog science items here? Um, I don't know.
We
It
have.
doesn't feel like we get a whole lot there.
I think I understand where you're going with in the fact that there isn't a section that gives a example of the process.
Hmm. Yeah, that is definitely not there.
Uh, especially since it talks about how you have to build each component individually. But if you needed
Mhm.
some more esoteric stuff, there isn't a lot there. So I think people are going to be are going to be using the values in that table. Um, the exotic
Yeah.
capability is the one that's going to be the elephant in that room.
Mhm.
Like, there's no real understanding of what materials will do what for your build if you're trying to do something from the ground up.
Hmm.
It does feel like they're kind of expecting. I mean, although it is a system where you're supposed to make things up, make up devices. Essentially, it's asking for homebrew, right? Because it's not
Yeah.
really giving you a way to do it within the system, or it's not giving you very many guidelines
Hmm.
about how to do it. I guess it does say, yeah, using the equipment and weapons in the earliest chapters a guide. Okay, estimate expenses using the equipment and weapons presented as a guideline. I don't know.
So I have a major question. This entire setting is what happened to the native people?
Well, I don't think it really happens on like Earth as we know it, right? Because I think they're kind of like sidestepping that question the same way Pirate Borg does. Although Pirate Borg does take place in like the quote unquote real world. But what happened in that setting was that Europeans discovered the Caribbean, and there was just nobody there except for undead. Um, so they just kind of don't deal with it. Now, I will say the illustrations in this book have been very, very diverse as far as the people presented, and I think you could probably say if you wanted to have a character who looks like just about anything, you could have that. Whether they could be from like a Navajo or a Cherokee from that tribe. I don't know if those peoples exist. But I also don't know how much like European peoples exist. I don't know
Like
if
they
that
have a
makes them.
Spanish influence.
Yeah, they definitely do.
I think
You're
in,
right.
Like this
I
is
think
well,
in this case, it's one of those things where that's not something that it's all that concerned with.
It
It's
does seem like that to me. Yeah.
like one could argue one could argue maybe nods to that in say the Thousand Mesas or the like, but this is trying to. I don't think you can really apply too many to that sort of real world approach in the same way that
well,
uh, I've I've had people get on me about the real samurai versus the appearance in Rokugan in L5R.
Mhm.
And one of the things I've had to tell people is this isn't historical Japan. This is Rokugan.
no. The only reason why I bring it up is because it is less like for a question of representation, because you could literally insert whatever the fuck you want in this. This is anything. I'm just more interested in how like the uh the native tribes and that level of mysticism that they bring to the table, as well as that culture, would actually interact with this. Like maybe they could have also been part of like the entire kingdom's rebellion deal going on there, which would bring an interesting element to this if they decided to add anything to this.
Yeah. So given how long it took to even get this thing out, I don't think that's something we're going to be seeing. Uh,
Now,
Like I see elements of it in some of the art style, but anyway, go on.
Yeah.
the what I was going to say is someone who works in a setting which is pirates, or like in a genre, the pirate genre, that deals with the topic of like colonialism. We've had to be very intentional about the way we approach it. I think they maybe have done that in the same case, have sort of run into the same issue here. Because we do have the issue of like colonialism happening in the West. We have the idea of manifest destiny and all that good stuff.
mhm.
And I can understand just not wanting to have that in there because there are some people like marginalized folks who are just going to not want to have that in their Western game, right? It could be painful. It could be painful for some people. That's one of the reasons why in Skies we've made it so that if you want to have some of the nastier effects of colonialism in your game, that's up to you to put in, right?
Mhm.
We don't have it in there by default.
Yeah.
Got
Um,
it. Got it.
In the
so
case
does
of
that?
yeah, and the
So
case
Steel
of
Manning thinks them a little bit here. So anyway, please go ahead.
in the case of Far West, from what we saw of the history of the place, there really isn't a spot for it.
Mm-hmm.
As in that's not how the the particular nations. There's not really there's not really any areas that could. There was certainly the Imperial expansion, but I don't I don't see a whole lot of colony. in that
Gotcha.
sense.
Have we? They have imperialism, but in like the sense of in a different sense than what we would think of when we think of like Western imperialism.
Yeah, the attitude that I get is the difference between, say, the Alliance and the Outer Rim in Firefly.
Mhm.
True.
In the sense that a lot of these areas were for the longest time under the domain of the Empire. Then several of the nations decided we're going to be leaving the Empire, and then war were declared.
Yeah.
And the further out you get, so you have this dichotomy from the more imperial side of things in what's known as back east, which is there's been a heavy implication you're not going to be doing a whole lot of adventuring there.
Yeah.
And the periphery, which was as far as imperial control went, and then the far west, where there are settlements, but the amount of oversight from any full-on nation is questionable.
Mhm.
That's the vibe I get here, much in the same way that in Firefly, the authority, it usually is whoever happens to have money or have guns in that particular area. You know, the whole lawless land approach.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how far out it is, in like Firefly, the Alliance doesn't really go out there, because the cost of going out there and keeping things orderly is just too high when they can just let them do their own thing so long as they're not bugging anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the vibe I get here. But when we come back to this next week, which will be the finale, because this isn't a very dense book in that sense, at least for dense for how we do things. We'll be wrapping up. Actually, no. Actually, I take that back. We're not going to be wrapping up Far West until the 14th because of the schedule thing. Next week, we are going to be doing a bit of a detour to go into a two-shot, since I believe, Sizer, that the 7th was going to be one of those weeks you were out of town.
Yeah, I'm going to be out in Omaha going to a show. It's also my birthday week, so, you know. Yeah.
Oh, early happy birthday, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh,
thank you, Joe.
You will probably get your celebratory cake courtesy of the Kogami Foundation.
Thank you.
Happy birthday!
But we'll be covering Arcana Familia, which is very much leaning into that cyberpunk fantasy approach a la Shadowrun, if I recall. As well as a Xenoblade TTRPG made by a fan called Blades of Ether.
Interesting.
So those should be fun to delve into when the time comes. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.